Welcome to the Bitcoin Club Malta podcast with Simon and Leon. Let's get started.
In your words, can you give us an introduction? What is Bitcoin?
That's a very tough question, but
why is it tough?
Why
is it tough in the first place? Because it's so complex, or because it's difficult to describe it, or because it's abstract?
because the question have been answered differently like over the years, and people change their perception of Bitcoin like over time and what it can actually be used for. Like, is it just a digital currency? Is it a new monetary system? Is it a way of trust? So some people say it's a way of getting rid of trust, and some people say it's like a e-money. But to me, Bitcoin is better money. It's an alternative to central banking, basically, where you can store your hard-earned money into the future without having it being depreciated through inflation.
How long did it take you to figure that out?
It took me quite a while. When I first discovered Bitcoin, I just rejected it as a scam, I believe. But as I started learning about economy, about central banks, about the way governments printing money to fund their operation and wars, I started looking into Bitcoin again, because that is really the way.
So you first learned about the technical details because you were interested from a technical perspective?
I started researching Bitcoin technically just recently, recent years, but I got into it for real because of the economics.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe we should go a bit more into the detail here. So you said Bitcoin is better money. In your words, what makes better money, and why is the existing money bad or not good enough?
Bitcoin is better money because it's sound money. It has a limited supply, and that's like the killer feature of Bitcoin, which no other currency in the world has, even the old coins. You can be sure that there will only be 21 million Bitcoins. So when you own Bitcoin, you can store your wealth into the future. It won't be depreciated through inflation. So, and it's also without any trust, and it's censorship resistant, means that nobody can take your Bitcoin, nobody can censor your transactions. It's totally free, totally open. And that also makes it totally very different from the current fiat money that we have right now, where banks may freeze your account. You don't really own your money in the banks. You're getting censored. Your money is losing value every year, at least 2% by government controlled inflation. So that makes Bitcoin very much better money.
It's just, I think, for most people, they don't see money as a product. They see money as something else. Like, it's not a product. They don't use the same approach that they have when they buy things. So if a normal person, or if I buy something, right, I choose the thing that I like, that fits to my price, to my budget, and to the features I like. If I buy a computer, I buy exactly that version that is perfect to me, right? And with money, there is no such thing. So there is not a free market of different money systems. There's only one money. And who can guarantee me that this is the best way to do it? And like, most people don't even understand how it works. I mean, I don't even understand. Like, nobody knows how it works. It's like it's an insider game, right? But then, when I look back, when I opened my bank account when I was a kid, it also worked. I mean, okay, it was a bit old fashioned. But I think right now, I saw a poll recently where somebody asked, have you ever been affected by censorship of money? And like, a lot of people actually had been. I think if you're in business, especially if you have a global business, it's quite often that you encounter banks asking you, or like transaction takes hours, and it's just difficult. And then, of course, I mean, just in a very narrow past, I mean, in Cyprus, it was just a couple of years ago that we had the last crisis and people got money frozen and that stuff. But do you think what is needed that people really see the downsides of the current system? And how can they understand the upsides of Bitcoin if you just consider that most people just use their cash, they have a bank account, it works for them, and like it's so difficult to understand.
Yeah, the education is one of the difficult issues to tackle, because people just spend their money and they don't really understand what they're spending. Is it debt, or is it sound money, or what is it? But so when it comes to Bitcoin as well, people have to start learning about like that money is just a commodity like any commodity else. And if you look throughout history, money has certainly been used. There have been multiple different commodities that has been used as money, and like just chosen by the free market, like what's being used as money here, and what happened in the end was that the whole world basically united around gold, because that was the most sound money that everyone could transact easily. And gold is just a commodity. And now we're not on the gold standard anymore. So not really sure what we have right now. We have government forced currencies. When you live in a country, you are forced to use this certain currency. But with Bitcoin, it's like
it's a monopoly money belief standard.
Yeah. So it's amazing that Bitcoin is actually free market money. That it's just chosen by the free market, and it has risen from zero to this highly valuable asset without any government decree. It's just the free market.
Yeah, right. Because if the government would say, let's introduce cryptocurrencies now is the right time because of all the problems, it would happen by the next day. But it's not. It's actually it's what you say. So Bitcoin is successful because of the free choice, the free market choice of the market, the free choice of many people participating in the market that say, hey, I want to put part of my savings or part of my money in there, maybe as a bet, maybe as a speculation, but most likely for a very specific reason, which is I prefer the features of that product, of that commodity, of that money over the existing ones, which is what you mentioned, the censorship resistant.
If there were if there were a free market of money, people would save in the money that are the safest, that they can, their money is stored in the best way, in the safest way, with as lowest inflation as possible. And I think when Bitcoin is moving towards almost zero inflation, it's gonna be like one of the best money you can store your salary or your wealth in the coming years.
Now, yeah, I mean they're still. I think it's still in the early stage. So
absolutely,
when people hear that now, they're probably but the fees are so high and it doesn't work and it's crappy and there's volatility. And what's
there are a lot of short-term thinking in the market. They're currently the fees are high, but people have to understand that this is a super long-term game
process.
Super long-term process, and I think most of the people that are developing on Bitcoin, they're thinking super long-term. They will not make any rash decisions that will have disastrous consequences in the future. And if you see it that way, Bitcoin is actually developing very quickly, almost too fast. Maybe the adoption is even too fast, because we still don't have user-friendly wallets enough, and we still don't really have these scaling solutions that is needed to onboard the whole world. But it's happening slowly and steadily. So
I just wanna there's this nice story in the book of Titus Gebel, Free Private Cities, and he brings up that example to show how preposterous the idea of a democracy is. Basically that he says, so imagine there's a car manufacturer and they have a board meeting and they say, hey, we want to sell more cars. Let's lobby the government and tell them to make a law that allows only us to sell only one car, for example, right? Because it would be the easiest and we can charge any price. And would it be a good idea? Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a one product economy then, right? But it's so ridiculous to assume that that's how the market works, right? So it's good that we have competition, in products. It's good that we don't just have one car manufacturer, because what you would end up with would be a Trabi, right, or Landa, or this, these socialist car manufacturers which just have really mediocre or low quality cars, and you wait 10 years until you get a car. In the GDR in Germany, you had to wait 10 years until you got your car, and it's because you can't, if there's a monopoly, it's always inefficient. There is no feedback really. They don't have to work hard, so they just mess it up basically. And this is valid for every product, every vertical, every industry. Like if you don't have competition, of course the product's gonna suck, overpriced, and maybe even dangerous, or like really bad. And the same with money, right? Like who would come to the stupid idea that there should be only one type of money? But we have that. There is a central banking standard all over the fucking world. Why? I mean, if there's a gold standard, that's kind of that makes sense. It's a positive external effect. So people agree on it because it makes sense, and people can interact. But it doesn't exclude anyone, and also nobody's forced. You can opt in voluntarily. You can opt out anytime. Right now, you can't opt out voluntarily. Like it's super hard to say like I want to. I think there's not a single country that allows alternative currencies to be legally accepted.
Yeah, you have all these legal tender laws. But if you think about it, let's say you have a store, why shouldn't you be able to accept gold for payment, for example, if you want to, or maybe Bitcoin, and you could do it to a premium, like, okay, pay with this local currency, maybe dollar or euro or something. But let's say people could pay in gold or Bitcoin and they get a 10% discount on everything. That would encourage people to switch to this better money. But currently, I don't think it's allowed in most countries, so it's not feasible. But that is to me the most rational thing to do. And that would lead to free market adoption of better money. It starts by the shopkeepers.
Yeah. But it won't happen because the majority of people are okay with the way the fiat money works. So they don't see the inflation. They just see it at the end of their career, which unfortunately is too late. Like everyone at the end of his career is like, yeah, okay, if you just work employed in a developed country or like Western country, you also pay a lot of tax. That's why they go on the street in France at the moment and stuff. And everyone, of course, I think a normal taxpayer is not 100% happy about the tax he pays. But the inflation, he doesn't see it because he doesn't understand it. But at the end of his career, once he retires, he will recognize, wow, I mean, okay, I never earned a lot, but now I really don't get anything. And that's partly because of the retirement system, which is, completely built the wrong way as well, but also because of the value is taken away through inflation over time. And so, yeah, I think people are, unfortunately, they don't have the right education yet. But it's a good approach, as you've seen, because a shopkeeper also naturally should be a little bit more in a strategic thinking, in an entrepreneurial thinking, in a business thinking. So he might be able to do a little bit more research about money, basically, and then use that to actually better his own position in the market, but also give value to the customers.
Yeah, it's a downside that the governments won't allow Bitcoin and so on. But there are many people that believe that they won't have any choice in the future. As Bitcoin grows and grows and grows, and just all capital is flowing into Bitcoin, it's going to be so important that the governments and the banks are forced to start having their own Bitcoin reserves. And they will start to use Bitcoin as a way of transferring money between banks. And so the banks and governments will be forced to go to in the end, we will have the Bitcoin standard. So, because it's so much better money. And they will even gain themselves by storing Bitcoin. They will lose out if they're not entering Bitcoin. So that is one positive way. But this is, of course, somewhere in the future, but we are still a good way in.
You mentioned that wallets are not user-friendly enough. At the moment, I had somebody complaining recently on Facebook. He wanted to pay with BTC in a restaurant that claimed to have acceptance, right? So it's a restaurant in Malta that says Bitcoin accepted here. It should be And so he came there and had dinner and then wanted to pay, and then it didn't work. And I experienced also that there were many shops who liked the idea. There are many shop owners that love the idea, but then they're too busy to keep up with. First of all, there are a lot of improvements, there are a lot of changes. Then if you it's almost a full-time job.
Yeah.
If you really want to take it up on your own, and you need to be educated about the wallet software. And you need to understand cold storage. Then most of the wallets suck. They're not user friendly. Then you have to have a system to change it to fiat. It's like you need a financial controller, or like a CFO to run that shit.
I think a good start is to just hire some company that makes a Bitcoin point of sale system that you can just use. And there are some of them, they take like 1%. As a fee, but they take care of everything, so you don't have to do anything. And there's a Bitcoin company that is called OpenNode that I like, and they're accepting
Tim Draper investing.
Tim Draper is a backer, and it's basically a point of sale system that you can easily run on an iPad in a store, and you can accept Bitcoin and Lightning, and you don't have to take care of anything, and you can just set up to get the monthly payment back in fiat or Bitcoin back to yourself. So I think that is a good start.
Talking about adoption, you said it's maybe even better if it would take longer. I think there's estimates that 10 million users so far are you can estimate basically, which is not a lot, and also the market capitalization of the Bitcoin market at the moment is compared to a big company is very low. It's a very small community.
Yeah.
And do you think it will, when will people actually start using Bitcoin? Because at the moment, what I feel is...
Do you mean as a payment?
As a payment, yeah, as a payment. Because the use case of Bitcoin is, first of all, is this big, fantastic global project. It has this big promise, changing the world, and it actually works for 10 years now. There's not a single fail in the network. Of course, there were hacks and stuff, but this is not about Bitcoin. It's about the security of the individuals. So what will happen? Will people keep just buying into, and until Bitcoin has reached a level where the impact is you can't deny it anymore, it's so big, and then also the price appreciation is so high that most people say, okay, I will never be able to spend that money in my lifetime, so I can invest in companies that can spend it, or will it be a smooth transition that people just like it and spend it already? Because I think most people, they do it in the beginning, they spend. I'm talking about people who are normal people, who just invest a little bit to try out, not the ones who have bought it in 2011 and will sit on shitloads of Bitcoin. They of course they can spend and invest whatever they want. But what do you think? When will the actual adoption happen? That people? That's also this is also chicken egg. So the shop owner, why should he do it if nobody comes? I think in my experience, most of the shop owners they actually have a good use of it. So people who come, it's not much, but it's enough to stay in the game.
You have to realize the way money is getting implemented in the market. It's like it starts with being just a collectible. Mm-hmm. So people, for gold, for example, people just use it as jewelry, and as Bitcoin, it's the same. In the first year, it didn't have any value. People used it as digital collectible.
I think maybe
and then the next step is
maybe one step before, just to get that right. So basically, what money really is in a very simple economy. What is the economy is about? It's exchanging goods and services, right? And so you have a natural trade before, and then money comes into place. And money comes into place because if you have chicken and I have fish,
barter.
Yeah, when we barter trade, sometimes it's a barter trade is just really not effective, right? So instead you go to the market and sell your stuff for that money, which is it's like an extended, universally accepted good of trade with other qualifiers or properties such as it has a long shelf life, so it lasts a long time. And it keeps the value, right? So I expected that I can sell it at a later point. So that's why a collectible also is meant to collect to be of a consistent value, right?
Yeah, but if you look at gold or seashells or how they became money, it's usually this way. It first became a collectible. People start collecting them, and then it became a store of value. You could store your money in it, and after store of value, you get medium of exchange. People start using it at trade, and the final step is unit of account. When people start pricing goods and services in this form of money, and this is how the gold standard came to be. And I see the same pattern in Bitcoin. For the first years, it didn't have any value. A lot of geeks and enthusiasts were collecting it and just for fun.
But you look back to the collection. So when you collect shells, you collect it because it is a special thing.
Yeah.
Because you find it and you're like, wow, I've never seen this before. I'm gonna keep that.
Yeah.
And it's a natural habit. It's a natural behavior that we look for these scarce things and special things.
We do.
And so Bitcoin is also like, many people like, oh, okay, I don't know what this will ever be, but I can, especially computer nerds, say, maybe I'll never use it, but let's collect it because it's just gonna, take I don't know 100 gig on my hard drive, but people like collect.
But it's super interesting to see the same pattern happen with Bitcoin just naturally, just as the same way the gold happened. But I think when your question was, when is Bitcoin going to be used as payment? And I think right now Bitcoin is struggling to become a store of value right now. That like the price is very volatile. People are buying it and using it more as savings, and they're still spending their fiat. And I think also some people say that's bad. You should go out and spend your Bitcoin more. But I don't think you should force people to do anything. You should just let it happen naturally. And it makes more sense to buy Bitcoin and sell your fiat, and use your fiat when you're buying stuff in a shop. When you buy your $1 coffee, you should sell the bad money, which is the fiat, which you might get in a salary each month. So, and you just buy Bitcoin and don't spend your Bitcoin because they will probably appreciate in the future. I think we have to wait for the merchants and stores and people that are running businesses start understanding that the value of keeping in Bitcoin, and then they will naturally start accepting Bitcoin and keep it in Bitcoin as well and not sell it instantly like many online shops do today. And I think that, and they will probably do it with a discount, and that will start making Bitcoin become more medium of exchange.
Yeah.
And when I say storing, just saving Bitcoin, doesn't mean that you never spend it, because obviously you're going to spend it sometime. You're going to spend it in the future. Maybe you need to buy a house. Maybe you die and your kids need to inherit the money, and someone will spend it in the future. But it doesn't make sense spending it right now. But as you said, many people that bought Bitcoin many years ago, they're spending it right now.
Would you say this is like... is this something you can, should you educate people about it, or is it something you can change in people? So is it like a natural law or an economic law that people prefer, or like, would it be the natural outcome if people would just, decide on their own? What would they do? Would they keep the good money and give away the easy money? Yeah. So what you're saying is that's how the people should do it. But
no,
what you're saying,
I'm saying just let people do what they like, and don't force anything on people.
Yeah. And then
there are a bunch of people, especially like some Bitcoin Cash people, for example, that are trying to make people spend their Bitcoin and use it more as payment. But I think the correct approach is just to let the market play and let people do whatever they like. And when I see what people actually are doing, they are saving their Bitcoin and are spending their fiat, just as the economic theories are saying.
What's the economic law behind
that? You have to first become a store of value before you come.
I'm referring to Gresham's Tears law.
Yeah,
maybe you can explain that.
Yeah, Gresham's law say that you will spend the bad money before the good money. So if you have like in the early days, if you have like a weird if you have like a gold coin that is very scratched and very torn down, you will probably save a better one and get rid of the bad one. And that goes to, you can use the same when it comes to like gold and fiat and stocks and everything. Like when you go on the street, you don't want to sell your Google stocks in a shop. You will probably you want to sell your fiat, In the same way, you don't want to sell your gold, you don't want to sell your Bitcoin, but you want to sell your fiat, because fiat is the money that has highest inflation and is a worse store of value. And I think people actually recognize that.
Yeah, it's all about value, right? Everybody's striving for his own good, and that's natural. You cannot change that.
Just as people are not spending Bitcoin today, people are not spending like stocks when they go out, because they are anticipating that their stocks are going to appreciate, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
and, I mean, on a smaller scale, what the scratched off gold coin also is just, it could be less value if somebody complains about the quality of the coin, so the quality adds a bit of value. And the same for fiat versus any hard gold or silver or Bitcoin. It's like, everybody, maybe don't know it, you don't know and understand it technically, but I think everybody's like, that $10 note or like that $50 note, like it's going away easily. Like
you can
it doesn't have much value.
Just look at Venezuela. What do you think shopkeepers want to accept there? The Venezuelan bolivars or dollars? Of course they want dollars. So
now let's switch to another question, which is the cryptocurrency itself, or the Bitcoin's birth also brought on a lot of other cryptocurrencies. And because also you mentioned Venezuela, in Venezuela I heard there's the Dash currency is pretty established, or like they have a lot of they focus on there.
Yeah.
Are you also interested in alternative coins, and how do you see the value of Bitcoin versus altcoins?
I am looking at the market currently and seeing all these altcoins, so I'm trying to learn as much as I can about all other altcoins, but I've come to the same conclusion as most Bitcoiners I listen and followed, and that is Bitcoin is the only currency that is like decentralized for real, and is secure, and is open source, and has the best inflation and monetary policy. So there isn't really any altcoin that is interesting per se, because the invention in Bitcoin wasn't like faster transactions. The invention has already been done. The invention is digital scarcity and sound money, and that is Bitcoin. So if you just copy the source code and create Bitcoin 2, it doesn't really matter, because even if you increase the, transaction speed or something, it doesn't matter, because that isn't what you're competing against. You're competing against sound money and a huge network, and Bitcoin has a huge network today. So it basically has a network effect as the biggest currency. So it's just like the internet. So let's say you run your computer and you're changing the TCP/IP protocol that lets you connect to the internet, and you're changing the rules. Suddenly you can't connect to anyone. Who's gonna connect to you? Like you can't. So it's the same with the internet. It's the same with Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin is just a protocol as well. So it's better to just use Bitcoin, because then you're able to connect to everyone else. You play by the same rules.
You maybe remember the discussion on I think it's coin that boat, that cruise ship, that blockchain cruise ship thing, where they had this discussion between Jimmy Song and Roger Ver.
Yeah.
And then they just stopped, or like Jimmy Song went off the stage. But I think and so I know a lot of viewers watch them, and they either say, Roger Ver is a crook, or Jimmy Song didn't argue well, and like nobody's really interested in the actual arguments. Can we shed some light on the actual problem that is the thing? So what do you know these parties? Do you know what they're arguing? Really? Okay, maybe you can explain a little bit. So what's the big? Because that's one example, right? So Bitcoin Cash is a fork of Bitcoin. And I think what they were trying to do is like they refer to the Bitcoin white paper, which says a decentralized peer-to-peer cash system, right? Which is okay. I mean, maybe Satoshi actually wanted something, and then it didn't went that way. That's actually the argument also of Roger Ver. He says Bitcoin was invented to be spent, not just as a store of value for rich early adopters or something. I think that's his argument, right?
Yeah, so you want to hear my opinion on Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash? Yeah, Bitcoin Cash is just, it was a part of the Bitcoin community that split off because they didn't agree with the majority. And as of now, Bitcoin Cash is about 3% of a Bitcoin in value. So they basically already failed and nobody's using it because, as I see, the blocks are empty and there's no transaction in it. So I currently see it as a failed project, but it was an interesting experiment because it actually was a part of the Bitcoin community that wanted another scaling a roadmap for Bitcoin that the majority of the Bitcoin core developers didn't agree on. And there are so many things about Bitcoin Cash that I think is wrong and I don't agree on. I think their view on monetary policy is wrong. They want to make people spend the money. They want,
but they actually have.
They think very short term.
Incentivize this, like they want to make. They want to make spend.
Yeah, because
money,
Bitcoin Cash has a very large support among a lot of merchants and big companies. So like BitPay and payment processors, because their view of Bitcoin is Bitcoin as a new PayPal. It's like Bitcoin is PayPal 2.0. This is the new payment network. While the real Bitcoin, so to say, has the view that we don't know if Bitcoin is a payment network. Maybe it's just a settlement network, and because we cannot just recklessly increase the block size. I think that is the whole.
Wait, now it gets complicated. Because the moment you drop block size, listeners, it's getting hard. But so that's a big thing, because so in the white paper it said a peer-to-peer cash system.
Exactly.
But it wasn't thought through that far, right? It was just, okay, we have a sound money cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, on the blockchain, and it doesn't have a payment system really. I mean, okay, you can do transactions, but it's not yet, okay, how do we actually do the adoption? How do we actually do, how can we actually do almost free transactions, or like all these features that we need, they're not yet there. Do you think Satoshi Nakamoto said, okay, like, I don't know how this will play out. It will play out in some way or another. Was Lightning Network already developed at the same time, or like what was the basis? Was it clear that it's really just meant as you mentioned a settlement system?
The end goal of Bitcoin is still to be like the new monetary system and the new money and better money, and that is what everyone is working towards. But we are not making any sacrifices to reach that more quickly, because
so the battle between the current these altcoins, so Bitcoin Cash for example, they say okay, we want this faster, we want this right now, and the Bitcoin core community says no, because we would sacrifice, we haven't the right way to do it. And so what are the sacrifices that we want to prevent?
The biggest difference between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash is the block size. Like, how many transactions can you fit within a block? And you have like a block every 10 minutes in the blockchain. And the Bitcoin core side, which is the majority of the community, they said, no, we can't really increase the size because it will cause the blockchain to take up a lot of disk space and it takes a lot of time to download, which means that Bitcoin will become less decentralized.
Because it's harder to download the blockchain, so less nodes, less normal people.
Bitcoin is a network of Bitcoin nodes where everyone has a full copy of the blockchain. And if the blockchain would grow too fast, let's say 100 megabytes per second or 1 gigabyte per second or something, it won't work for a normal computer or a normal guy to download the whole blockchain and verify yourself. And that would in the end lead to centralization of nodes.
Because you can if in order to do a 51% attack, you have to compete against less.
The issue is that if that would happen, that nobody can actually download and verify the blockchain, it would be centralized to like data centers, big players, maybe miners, and in the long term, they could collude and they could change, for example, the inflation and increase the amount of Bitcoin in existence, and you as a normal user, you can't do anything about it. And this is the most important thing that Bitcoin is about compared to Bitcoin Cash and all other the altcoins. With Bitcoin, you should be able to verify the chain yourself, verify the inflation yourself. And that is why there's no rush in increasing the block size. And they're instead working on many other technologies to make the transaction space more efficient and second and third layer solutions. And right now, Lightning Network is one big way.
It's so funny because the discussion Bcash versus Bitcoin in the YouTube comments, or as said on this incident there on this cruise ship, it's most of the time really like emotional arguments and like bashing, and they don't really understand each other's side.
True.
And it's more about is it the vision of the white paper, and should Bitcoin be used as daily payments, and how many transactions should fit in the network. But the real question is a different one, which is what do we actually want?
Yeah,
and why?
But for me, the most important, as I said with Bitcoin, is the monetary policy and on money that cannot be inflated, and that is the number one priority. And if we cannot make super fast transactions right now, that have to wait a while to keep Bitcoin safe until we can, and just hurry slowly, as some may say. Just let this we solve all these technical scaling problems in time, and because we only have one shot of this. Bitcoin is the most distributed coin that there is. If this fails, if we fail Bitcoin, make this system centralized and letting some big player having the influence of the code or the inflation of it, it's already dead. We have to start from scratch, and I don't know if it's possible. So that's why it's so important to just be careful with all the changes we make and hurry slowly.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other interesting projects? I mean, you probably had a learning curve also about these altcoins. Maybe you can talk about more. What do you know about? Do you know anything about this Bytecoin that I heard was a privacy focused coin? Also,
Byteball.
Somebody.
I don't know, but
not Byteball. It was called Bytecoin, I think. Yeah.
No, I don't know anything about.
Okay. Dash, Monero.
Yeah, I could talk about Dash. Dash, as you said, is popular in Venezuela. It could be a good project, but the problem is that it's basically a cryptocurrency that is run by an organization that is for profit. So they take a percentage of transaction fees, and you even have a percentage of transaction fees go straight to some kind of advertising budget to promote the coin or something like that.
I received a bit of this already.
Yeah. So that's why they are able to afford events. And I saw a funny tweet. Some guy visited, I think, Consensus, the biggest event, and it's and he said, he wrote like this: how does a decentralized currency manage to buy a booth at Consensus at the most expensive place? It's it's a bit weird, right? It would never happen to Bitcoin.
No, of course not. But I still, so what we definitely agree on is, we are free market bankers, right? So the competition is good, and I think in the sense of Dash, it's actually great for the community that they.
It might be a good day-to-day currency for day-to-day payments, and if it works right now. But I don't believe in it long term, because Bitcoin is the soundest money, and if you have your money in Bitcoin, and if you could spend your Bitcoin super instantly, super fast, like with the Lightning Network, why would you use Dash? If you can make it instantly with zero fees and even private, anonymously on the Lightning Network, for example, why would you change to Dash? And that is why I don't believe in these alt currencies, because they are not needed. They are obsolete. They are already obsolete when you see what Bitcoin can do and will do in the future.
Actually, I just recently learned a big thing that Ethereum enthusiasts like to compare, or like to point out, is that Ethereum has smart contracts, and Bitcoin wouldn't have that.
Yeah,
Bitcoin had smart contracts before Ethereum was.
Bitcoin has basic smart contracts, and I saw that they are working on a new smart contract language for Bitcoin, which is you can create proof proofs that there are no bugs in it or something like this. So this is what you see in the Bitcoin community. They are not maybe the first one, but they are taking the more cautious road and making stuff that is sound and scalable, because the biggest issue with Ethereum is that it doesn't scale. We already seen it doesn't scale with running advanced smart contracts on chain. As soon as people start using it, it just fails, collapses, getting overloaded. So
now, maybe to summarize this a bit, I think what the big misconception is, a lot of these young people also that I see, they love Bitcoin, which is great, but they like the thing that this is cryptocurrency, or they like Ethereum because they wanna play with it, and they wanna make an ICO, and they like smart contracts, and they think blockchain can be used in healthcare and wherever. I think the biggest misconception is really that what Bitcoin is really, or what the Bitcoin core team is working on, what Bitcoin is really about. It's not yet even payments. It's really just sound money, and what is sound money is a store of value. And it's how can we make a store of value with a digital, scarce as a token possible, decentralized, unconfiscatable, and like censorship resistant, right? And that's what most people don't get. So they are blinded, and they're like, no, you have to invest in this other coin, or like this project is interesting.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with a lot of coins, I've seen like projects like IOTA or Nano, their main focus is payments. They want to be the new PayPal. And I think that is the wrong approach. Bitcoin has the approach of being a competitor to gold. It's like being sound money. And then we have solving payments on top of that. So you can't have it other way around.
Because we have cryptocurrencies already, like the fiat euro. The euro system is cryptocurrency. It's cryptographically secure.
We already have PayPal. We don't need a new PayPal. That's not what we need. We need a new monetary sound money system. So
yeah, I like that tweet some time ago. It said, the question is not where the price of Bitcoin goes, like if it goes to 20K or 60K or whatever. The question is what's your percentage that you personally own of the overall Bitcoin supply? How much Bitcoin of all Bitcoins ever created and owned will you own? So let's say if you just own one Bitcoin of 21 mil Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin becomes a standard, then it's quite huge. Then it's quite a big thing. So I think that's what people also have a big misconception if they speculate on a short-term basis. Let's talk about what to do if somebody actually buys into Bitcoin or likes to. I mean, I think also I always say it's like signaling, right? Like everything in the economy is signaling. Buying, selling is signaling. It's signaling whether there's demand or not. Yeah. So if you buy gold, you tell your bank manager or your bank or your central bank or your government that you prefer to have physical gold because you don't trust the fiat illusion any longer, maybe, right? Yeah. So that's a signal. And so the price follows your decision. Ultimately, I remember I had a discussion actually with Titus Gable about markets, and I said but the people, they want different things than there are in the supermarket. And it's like, maybe there are some niches, for example, the vegans, they want hemp cookies. But now if you go to a supermarket, like even here in Krabi or in Thailand or somewhere else, like there's vegan supply for everyone. There's organic stuff. So whatever you demand, and exactly to the extent that the market demands that stuff. So the market is exactly the delivery mechanism for it, whatever you like. And so the question is, if you demand gold, then you signal, we want a better currency. And if you buy Bitcoin, you actually put your signal, like you not just, you can benefit from it greatly, of course, personally, but it's also, you can see it as, a decision that you make for your life, how you would like to have your money. You want it that way or you want it that way. Yeah. You want to support governments, or, completely intransparent governments where you don't know and where you also have no power really, except for voting every 4 years. We've no idea, no power where this money goes to, if it's a cause you want to support or if it's wars or, super crazy, shady business. And so with Bitcoin, it's your decision, okay, whatever I do, I like to have that money because it has exactly these properties being, it's pretty transparent. If the whole world would work on, we would see also, where the government money goes. but it's simply less corrupt because you can't expand your credit without limit. If you're the government, you cannot go in depth over what it's now. I think there's like a number of worldwide debt. It's like 900 trillion. It's an insane number, and this wouldn't happen with a global sound money standard. So if I want to save my get Bitcoin, what's the number? What you would suggest is the number one most important thing to understand, or like to just if you save it, you can lose it and that stuff. What's the most important thing to do?
Well, you probably buy Bitcoin at some exchange and then you withdraw it. But the question is, where do you withdraw? Where do you send your Bitcoin? Where do you store your Bitcoin? And that is a tough question, because when it comes to Bitcoin, you're actually the owner of your own money. And when you're generating a wallet address and you're sending it to it, the question is, where are you storing this wallet? Are you storing it on your computer, maybe your phone, or maybe a hardware wallet? And currently, your phone might be hacked and your computer might be hacked. There are so many security issues around this way of handling your own money. There are no customer support you can call for Bitcoin. If someone hackers steal your Bitcoin, or if you send to the wrong address, they're gone forever. So it's very important to understand how this works. But basically, you own the wallet, which is a key, and you have to store it safely. And usually, like if you install a wallet if you choose to install a wallet on your desktop, you generate a wallet, you get a password to write down on a sheet of paper, so that if your computer breaks, you could use this code to recover your Bitcoin. And the most secure way is to buy a hardware wallet from Trezor or Ledger or some other supplier. And they work just like a USB storage device, and store your keys on that device, and to make it almost impossible for hackers to steal your coins. Mm-hmm. So you could start if you're gonna start playing with Bitcoin, maybe buying a few dollars of Bitcoin. You could try it on a desktop wallet and a phone wallet, and it's very good to just try to send it back and forth to get a feel for it, how it works. But if you're gonna really put a few percentage of your net worth in Bitcoin, for example, you should really consider buying a hardware wallet and store it offline like that. So that is the most secure way currently.
And then I think it's once you have the hardware wallet, similar to gold. I mean, I think when you talk about what's the most safe way to protect your, let's say, physical gold, say like not all in one place, have different places, maybe even different countries. And you can access it basically in a similar way. Yeah, I mean, maybe you shouldn't put all your Bitcoin in one hardware wallet. It depends on how much it is.
But I think the number one,
I would even say, why not? Especially right now, I know so many cases where people lost their Bitcoin, and it's very bad. So for the beginner, it's actually good to have a custodial exchange for the start. Just to make some.
Could be, but I would say that the number one error that most people make is storing the Bitcoin on some exchange. They buy it, let's say, on Bitstamp, or they buy it on Coinbase,
and they
just let the Bitcoin lay around there for years, or they send it to a web wallet or something and let them stay there. Yeah. But that is like the worst thing you can do, because if it's not your keys, if you don't own the keys, it's not your Bitcoin basically. And we see every year many exchanges get hacked, they go down, and your money is gone. And the most famous exchange is, of course, Mt. Gox, where people lost all their Bitcoins. And I am sure they learned that they should have withdrawn their Bitcoin and kept them for themselves. Because you can never, if you just own your Bitcoin, they can never be hacked. But if you let them lay around on some exchange, well, that's for sure. They're not your money. It's like leaving money on the bank instead of withdrawing them as cash.
Trace Meyer called to make a withdrawal flash mob kind of. So everybody on 3rd January, everybody is asked to withdraw the money. I think it wasn't successful from a PR thing, but I think there was one article though that said I think hit BTC or some exchange actually was
they froze people's
accounts. Did they do it actually, or was it just a PR?
I'm not sure. I read something about it. I'm not sure, but it proves. I mean, what I'm saying that if you have your money on exchange, they are not safe there.
The last one was Bitfinex, I think, right? They had massive problems.
Yeah, they got hacked, I think, and they are like restoring people's Bitcoin, I think, slowly as they recover funds or something.
So they weren't hacked all of it, so that's probably an improvement.
But it's still there have been multiple exchanges hacked in the last year, and some of them just shut down. I think the Russian exchange called BTC-E got just seized by the US government, I think, and if you had crypto there, they're gone. So,
wow, it's amazing, yeah. And I mean, probably you can just speculate or assume. I mean, you can if you have or if you know people who don't control their private keys. Let's say if they bought just for fun, it's okay. But if they seriously put some money in and they have it on an exchange. You can never tell when the day comes, but it might come, right? And so right now we have more compared to just 2 years ago. So many people came on board in 2017. So many new exchanges, are more bigger now. I mean, hopefully they really invest a lot in security. But if they would invest properly, they would tell the people to withdraw their funds because that's the safest way. But then they have less liquidity to make money themselves. So I think it's really just, I don't know, we can hope that probably there are already a lot of things that you just don't know, right? Where all of these exchanges that are on the market now, they already have been hacked to an extent, and it's just not public. And so maybe at some point people would withdraw. It would turn out that there is actually a massive problem was growing and already, and we'll see. Okay, maybe as a final goodie, we can talk a little bit about Lightning Network.
Yeah.
And I think that's something where I don't know if it's really the market pressure that so many people demanding payments also, and I mean, of course it's the number one question. Bitcoin transaction on the blockchain is like 3 per second, right?
The Bitcoin blockchain is very slow. You have one block approximately every 10 minutes, but it can also take an hour. So if let's say you go to a store and you send Bitcoin, you would have to wait maybe an hour to make it really confirmed. So what the Lightning Network is a way to enable micropayments and payments on top of Bitcoin that is backed by real Bitcoin. So it's basically a completely trustless peer-to-peer network that is on top of Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And
so what you do is you take your Bitcoin out basically into a completely different network.
Yeah, you basically you lock up your Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. You have a normal Bitcoin wallet that let's say you load 1 Bitcoin in your Bitcoin wallet, mm-hmm. and then
it's like my purse.
Then you lock up this 1 Bitcoin into the Lightning Network by opening a channel to the Bitcoin network, and now you can spend and receive Lightning Bitcoin basically. So you can pay anyone within the Lightning Network instantly with basically no fees.
But those transactions are not on the original settled on the original Bitcoin blockchain.
They are run off-chain within the Bitcoin network. And then at any time you want, you can choose to close the channel, mm-hmm. and your balance will be settled back to the real blockchain. So you can really relieve a lot of pressure from the mm-hmm. original blockchain, and you can enable micropayments with the system. And I've been playing with it for the past months, and for me it has worked great. Every payment I make, it goes through instantly, and it's just amazing to see that you can pay people like a fraction of a cent. You can pay people with that 0.0001 cent with instantly. So that is also even new for the old system. That there is no way of paying people like that right now. So I tried. I've been using some of the Lightning services, and I even bought a phone refill for my phone here in Thailand with paying with Lightning. So it works great, and I'm trying to learn more and more about how Lightning works.
And so the fascinating thing that I learned was, let's say the Lightning Network uses like a smart allocation, and like the channels or the payments get routed via different channels. So it's the best way of the settlement. So let's say you go to a shop, and you have your Lightning wallet, and you pay your bill. It doesn't come out. The payment is not made by you. It's put in the Lightning network, and then it can even go from two other Lightning channels to the bar, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, the payments take one or more hops to reach its destination. So when you put Bitcoin on the Lightning network, you are connected to another node in the network, and then if you want to pay someone else on the other side of the network, the payment you make is jumping between the nodes and trying to find the best route through the network, and that is how everyone is able to reach everyone.
So you have been building already your own tools. I think that's when people want to understand Bitcoin or like really want to get involved. I mean, for first step, of course, is learning, educating, and like and getting knowledge in house. So can you tell us a little bit about your own development stuff that you've done, the projects?
I'm just playing around with Bitcoin sometimes, and I want to make some contribution to this open source community. And one website I recently built was mempool.space, which is a site where you can visualize the blockchain. You can see how transactions are coming in and getting added to the blockchain, to like see the blockchain visually. And you can even get the fee estimation, like how much fee do I need to give to my Bitcoin transaction for it to get into the next block, for example.
Yeah. Cool. Very interesting stuff. I think it's going well. So thank you so much, Simon, for your time and the great insights.